Hello and welcome to Jake's On First, the podcast where we talk about baseball's problems. The problem is no one's listening. And occasionally we talk about fantasy baseball like we're going to do tonight. I am joined by my co-host, Jake Hipple. Jake, how's your day been?
My day is ending. Tomorrow it will begin anew.
Did you
That's terrible.
experience any of the tornadoes today?
No, man, I never had to deal with tornadoes. I'll be fine.
All right. Also joining us to discuss some of the fantasy nuances, we have Steven Coelho. Coelho, you're looking dapper again in your sport coat and red striped tie.
I experienced the tornadoes today, and I was on the seventh hole. I walked. I like to walk when I play golf, and I was on the seventh hole.
Weird.
And I got a notification on my phone that there's a tornado in the area, and I was like, "All right, okay." And that wasn't raining or anything. It was really windy though, so that was already a little sketchy.
And you played a really good round.
I did play really well because it was so windy. I wasn't like worried about
Caddyshack.
my swing and stuff. I was just like, I gotta just find a way to make the ball go where I need it to. So I need to remember that. But yeah, back to my story here. It was a tornado warning. I'm like, okay, I might want to seek shelter. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. There's a bathroom here. So I go to open the door and they lock the door because of COVID. They don't want people going to the bathroom because of COVID. And then I don't want to change the subject, but I'm like, okay, if you go to the golf course and you want to go in a separate cart as your playing partner, you got to pay like a $15 fee, which I understand because they can't like use every golf cart. You know what I mean? They'll all die and it's a pain in the butt. It's not sustainable, things like that, which is fine. But if you're going to charge $15 to make people not social distance or whatever, to make them social distance, then don't lock the bathrooms and don't not fill up the water jugs so people don't touch the water jug.
That pisses me off.
That is clearly because you don't want to clean the bathrooms and because you don't want to fill the water jugs up. Because I've had that job on a golf course and it's terrible. But I'm just like, okay, well now I might die in a tornado because I'm walking and I'm just out on the golf course.
Solid take.
Okay,
Yeah.
Back to continuing off of that. The one thing that's pissed me off with the COVID stuff in golf courses is they have gotten way more play. Like they've been profiting.
Yeah,
from it, and
they're
they are
making money.
not refilling water. So you're either getting dehydrated or you're going to have to bring 10 water bottles with you, or you get to spend a bunch of money on overpriced water.
Yeah.
Or in addition to that, they're not raking bunkers a lot of times. So they're not leaving rakes for you to rake it. And then you go in and it's like, just improve your lot or like give yourself a good spot. I was like, why don't you rake it every day? Because I know you're getting a bunch of play. And it's not like it's so
What
lazy,
bothers me too is the CDC basically said, hey, if you sit next to somebody, and I'm not a doctor for our millions of listeners out there, so don't take this as medical advice. I don't want to get sued and go up against Daniel Garrett in court, but I just want to say,
or you might.
The CDC
he hasn't tried
basically
a case yet.
Well, he'd win this one against me, but I'm just saying the CDC literally said if you like sit next to somebody without your mask on and you like talk to them repeatedly and you're like breathing in their mouth and you have COVID, you're probably going to give them COVID. But the CDC also said like if someone in front of you, yeah, exactly. If someone in front of you touches something and then you go back there 5 minutes later and you touch the same thing they touched, you're probably not going to get it. It's like really rare that happens. So clearly that's an excuse. And here's the other thing, not related to COVID at all. This has been a year now. And it's been a year where they're like, hey, let's not refill the water.
Oh, I know.
So and I have a feeling like, let's say May 1st, everyone's vaccinated, COVID's over, fingers crossed, whatever. And then they're like, hey guys, COVID's over. We got to refill these water jugs. I doubt they're going to clean those things. No, they're just going to refill them as if it was yesterday that they got emptied. And they're literally going to refill them after they've been sitting there for a year and like 6 months. And they're going to be like, yep, we put water in them. They won't clean them or anything. I guarantee it. And same with the bathrooms. They haven't used the bathrooms for a year and a half, which like I don't blame them for not wanting to clean them, but they're just going to unlock the door and act like nothing happened. You're going to walk in there and get attacked by spiders and all this crap. It's going to be a madhouse.
So with those takes, we will just say wear your mask, get the vaccine, and let's talk about Olson Meadows. This team was fairly mediocre last season, so mediocre that their average point per game differential was only 4 points. So really just kind of squeaking by the competition. This team is also owned by Jake Hipley, and was 4-2 last season. Hipple, why don't you tell us about the keepers that you yourself chose?
Joey Bart, Xander Bogaerts, Alex Bregman, Kevin Biggio, Devin Williams, JD Martinez, Pete Alonso, Austin Meadows, Mookie Betts, Matt Olson. Only 10 out of 12 due to certain restrictions.
And those restrictions are because you cheated last year and we stripped you of 2 keepers.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Now we can laugh about it.
Well, Coelho, why don't you tell us a little bit about what he needs?
Well, he doesn't have any starting pitchers.
Yeah,
so he probably needs one of those. But I was actually about to say the same thing. If there's one position you're going to be thin, it's starting pitching in this league. And I'm not complaining about this rule because I actually kind of like it. It adds a lot of strategy. But you only get 6 starts a week. So you don't need 7 or 8 starting pitchers. You definitely need more than 0. But I kind of like the idea of banking on the draft as a way to get starting pitching. There's a lot of really good pitchers late in the draft. I'm not going to name names. I don't want to reveal any strategies, but there's a lot to be had down there in the late rounds. On the flip side of it, because you get 6 starts a week, it puts higher value in like those elite pitchers. So like last year, your Garrett Coles, your DeGroms, and your Biebers are irreplaceable. Whereas like in a traditional points fantasy league, you can just pick up pitchers off waivers all week and you'll accumulate more points of pitching than the guy who actually has the best pitchers. So in a traditional points fantasy league, I want like 2 or 3 great pitchers and then like 3 or 4 guys that I don't mind dropping because I'll be able to pick them back up when no one else takes them, if that makes sense. So I like the strategy, but there's still a risk there. For a team under sanctions, it probably makes sense because there's not one hitter here I'd be willing to give up except for maybe Biggio, but he's a second baseman. Devin Williams, I would have probably not kept him, even though he's the best reliever in baseball, only because the sanctions combined with the fact that he's a relief pitcher would have tempted me to not keep him.
He is being kept in a future star slot.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And because of the restrictions, I didn't want to only keep – my restrictions were 2 veterans gone, and I didn't want to also only keep like 9 and then like almost make it a loophole where it's like, ooh, now I get a high pick. So it was like I'll keep that and not try and –
Well, really the 2 prospect keeps you got, like Joey Bart will probably get caught up this year, and he's going to be a rare like quality of a catcher.
That's the
as a hitter, I would think. And, normally I say relief pitchers are bad to keep because relief pitchers are so volatile, but every once in a while you have a relief pitcher that's so good and so filthy that they're like above and beyond everyone. And I think Devin Williams is the perfect example of that. He defies physics. So if you can find someone that can defy physics, usually they're not someone you want to drop.
That changeup, dude.
Yep.
And it's so different. It has more spin than his fastball, and it's sideways. It's
weird, like dude. As I said, it defies physics.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, hitting wise, there are no needs. I mean, you can put Biggio at second or third. There's some outfield depth there with Meadows and Betts. Biggio can play outfield as well. You have Bregman for third, 2 first basemen, and JD Martinez, who is only 2 years removed from being the best hitter in baseball, 1 year removed from being one of the best hitters in baseball. People are freaking out about 2 bad months So I'm not at all worried about JD Martinez.
I mean, honestly, this team does have a lot of star power. You know, it's the keepers that we see here are like surefire keeper guys. Alonso, Olson, Bregman. Like these are guys that on any given team they're going to keep them. I mean, then you have like some high upside guys like Biggio. Like should be really good, but is he going to be that good? We'll see if he can live up to the hype from the baby Blue Jays. But I still hesitate to voice my support for the no starting pitchers, just because you're not going to get elite starting pitching in the draft, at least from what I've seen.
So on my roster, the options I had for starting pitchers, my top two guys were Mike Clevenger, who's out for the year with Tommy John. So there's no need to keep him. And then Chris Sale, who, when he's healthy, is a top 2 pitcher in a point system. But it's just he's also had a setback. He hasn't thrown yet because he had COVID, and I think maybe something else that was not arm related. So he is not going to come back until All-Star break. So it's just kind of like with the restrictions, I wanted to keep the obvious hitters, and just I thought I could redraft Sale potentially, and even if not, it's just like I'll just redraft as much pitching as I can.
I got you.
I didn't have any other top end.
I have a question about Chris Sale real quick.
Do it.
In the beginning of spring training last year, so the beginning of spring training 2020, and his arm was okay at the time, but he missed like a week and a half and he was diagnosed with bronchitis or something like that. And then he said like a month and a half later, he's like, I'm pretty sure that was COVID, but we didn't know yet. Any thoughts on that? Did he have COVID in late February 2020 or did he not?
I don't know.
Entirely possible.
I think he did. Just got it.
I totally think he did.
If they confirmed for bronchitis, that's
it could have been something else, something in his lungs.
But he also I'm
not a doctor
too.
That doesn't mean anything. That's a year later. It's like a 4-month window.
I think if he was caught with bronchitis, it was bronchitis.
Well, I don't know if it was bronchitis. You got to go look the article up.
Yeah, I don't.
It says. Oh, was that this year? Okay. It says he was sick with pneumonia at the beginning of 2020.
It was 100%
pneumonia,
and we made fun of
pneumonia. That's what I meant to say.
Interesting.
No, the nipple rings was the 2018 playoffs.
Okay,
but those nipple rings don't just go away.
Yeah,
and it was also not a nipple ring; it was a belly ring.
Well, oh yeah, you're right. It was a belly button ring.
You know what? Long story short, it was probably right to drop the guy and see if you can pick him back up in the draft. There's a lot of question marks there. Did he have COVID last year? Did he have a belly ring or a nipple ring? There's a lot of variability going on there. Too much risk.
Yeah. Okay. So seeing what your pitching staff was, I guess that makes sense. Now I want to clarify that you don't get a 11th and 12th round.
No. I'm drafting like Tim Tebow or something like that.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify that.
Since we're on your team.
Okay.
And I don't want to get off topic. Like I've gotten off topic 2 consecutive team evaluations, but while we're on your team, I actually want an answer. People wanted to know this for a long time. We've never really heard, so we have you here. Who are you actually going to pick in those 2 spots? Because that's a big deal to me. It matters a lot to me. Tim Tebow is a great choice. Who's your second pick?
First, with the pitching, I traded Maeda at the deadline when I knew my team wasn't going to win it. Or otherwise, I'm
not talking about a real player. I'm talking about.
No, I just want to finish with my pitching. I also had German Marquez. I didn't realize that, but I was
German.
Second best German in major leagues.
German Marquez.
In terms of guys, I'm going to take.
I'm just mean.
I was looking the other day. You should take Peter Moreland.
I know I've been.
That's a good one.
Told to get Moylan.
I was thinking.
You can also take Ian Desmond.
A good choice.
I'm not taking Ian Desmond.
Let's see.
I was thinking more like I don't know. See if Beltre's on there. One of those kind of guys. You'd be surprised.
Ooh, I don't know who this is. He's projected for 0 points, but his name is Travis Swaggerty, and I feel like you should just take him.
Adrian Beltre is available.
Travis Swaggerty's a legitimate prospect. He was a first-round pick and like 2 years ago.
I like his name though. So
no, yeah, he played at South Alabama. He was legit.
Tebow and Beltre are both available.
Yeah, take those then. All right. Well, Coelho, you got any last thoughts on the Olson Meadows?
Great name, by the way.
Honestly, the one thing this team needs is chemistry, so that Tebow pick might be big.
Mm-hmm.
They need to come to the Lord in the clubhouse.
There is some chemistry because I got 3 Red Sox guys, because Mookie Betts was a former dude.
Yep.
I got Olson and Meadows, who are buddies. Joey Bart is also from the area. And then you got Bidja, who's got the dad's a pro, so he understands stuff. Polar bear, like who doesn't like a polar bear?
Yeah, I think
Bregman's the one that I'm worried about chemistry on.
He could throw it all off. You got to watch him. He might get your team to try and cheat. You do enough of that already.
Personality really well.
I heard that whole Astros cheating thing started at LSU when Bregman was there, and he brought it to Astros.
Maybe LeMahieu started it there too.
Who knows, man? Clearly it didn't work for the Rockies. So,
my final thought is it's probably pretty weird that Joey Bart might ride the Bart to games that he's going to play in, and with that, we can close out this team profile. And
how good do you think my team's going to end up being this year?
How good?
Yeah.
Depends on those pitchers, man.
Yeah, let's see.
Okay, I will say I've gotten lucky with drafting good pitchers.
If you draft good pitching, you're a top 3 team with these keepers. If your pitching craps out because you're getting the draft pitching, then you're probably still middle of the pack.
Well, remember the history of it too. I came in second the first year, won the next year, came in second again, and then in a short season, my team never got started because I had a lot of guys. Olson was horrible, Meadows was horrible, Alonso was horrible, Martinez was horrible, Bregman underperformed. So in a full season, I think I would have once again gotten a championship.
See what kind of pitching you get. So with that, we will close out this team profile and projections, and we'll see you guys next time.
Go team.